Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Jason here with a ton of Starfield news. We have so much to go over. It's crazy, and I love it. We can steal ships. We can build our own ships. Fallout 5 is coming. Elder Scrolls. Holy, there is so much going on. So first, before we jump too deep into it, let's go over what Pete Hines said. Pete Hines is the marketing guy, the lead marketing person for Bethesda. He had an interview at the Xbox Showcase on June 14th. They had an extended showcase. Sat down, did an interview, and he said some amazing stuff, specifically about ship customization in Starfield. They are actually, it's not just cosmetics. Like, we have, the ability to change colors and shapes and stuff like that, but it gets way deeper than that.
Every ship is customizable to the nth degree, and not just like cosmetically. I want my ship to look like this or look like that, though obviously that's totally a thing that you could do if all you care about is cosmetics. But it goes much deeper than that in terms of like what kind of shields you have, what kind of weapons you have, like what kind of ship are you building? What do you want it to be good at? What trade-offs are you willing to make or not? And then the other part of it is, of course, well, you can't just like, it's a spaceship. Those aren't cheap. So you have to figure out, like, how am I going to do this? Where do I get the resources to build this stuff? What kind of, skills do I need to level up to improve different parts of my ship beyond, what I could do without those skills? So there's a lot of, again, choices in terms of you get to decide that, how much you want to put into that or not. Do you just want to give somebody money for the parts that you want? Do you want to build it? All of those things are sort of part of the fun of deciding how much do you want to interact with this and how do you want to interact.
So yeah, you could fully customize it to the point where you're adding stuff like getting power to your ship. You can add stuff like, different features to your ship as well as the cosmetics, which I love. And you don't even have to buy it. You can make it your own if you want to mine resources in Starfield and make all this stuff on your own. You don't have to buy it. You can if you want to. Or Pete went on actually later on to say you can steal other starships. I love that.
You come in the next day and you talk to everybody about what you did and you were like, wait, I did that quest, but I did this completely different thing. And you sort of start to appreciate all of the choices that you could have made. You didn't even realize were an option. Like, oh, I didn't even think about doing that. Like, oh yeah, I just ran in and stole his ship and shot all of his crew members and took off. Like, you can do that? Like, oh yeah, you can do anything. Like that, I think that is a special part of a Bethesda Game Studios game. And when we say epic RPG, we mean all of the stories, all of them.
So yeah, that's insane. I mean, yeah, we don't know if it's for sure. It's one of those examples he gave out. So is it a guaranteed 100% in the game? I'm pretty sure it is, but it's not 100%. It's not officially marketed as that. There's no official statement like, yes, you can steal other player or other people's NPCs ships, because Starfield is a single player game, just like Skyrim, just like Fallout. It's single player, not Fallout 76. Real Fallout, Fallout 4, Fallout 3, all those games are single player games. And so that's when you can say, okay, you can steal other NPCs' ships. That is very, very awesome. And then on top of that, IGN, Ryan McCaffrey, he's awesome. Down below in the description are a link to all this stuff. If you want to see it yourself, link down below in the description to this. But IGN sat down with an interview, Ryan McCaffrey did, with Todd Howard. He is the creative director, Bethesda, of Starfield. And he had a lot to say about like all the different features of Starfield. Like the biggest thing that stood out to me, and a lot of people are actually asking that question now, is there's over 1,000 planets in Starfield. How did you do that? Did you procedurally generate it like No Man's Sky? Or did you go through and handcraft it? And it's a bit complicated, but this is what Todd Howard had to say about that.
You've got all these planets. You touched on 1,000 planets. I imagine you're going to have to procedurally generate a lot of those.
Yeah, look, I mean, we will probably deep dive into that in the future. Here's how we pull it off and how it feels. We do a lot of procedural generation, but I would keep in mind that we've always done that.
Right.
And it's a big part of Skyrim in terms of questing and some other things we do. We generate landscape using procedural systems, and so we've always kind of worked on it. But I should also add that we have done more handcrafting in this game, like content-wise, than any game we've done. We're over 200,000 lines of dialogue, so we still do a lot of handcrafting.
So yeah, it is procedurally generated, but they're handcrafting a lot of stuff. So in my opinion, and he said they're going to go into detail on how they did it later on, but I think from an outsider's point of view, they probably procedurally generated all the planets, which is probably very easy to do, and then they went back and they customized every single aspect. Not every single, but they went through and they handcrafted a ton of stuff on each planet to make it unique and individual. That way they all don't look the same. Like the problem that No Man's Sky has, it's amazing, it's beautiful, but once you've been to one toxic planet, once you've been to one radiation planet, you've probably seen and you know what all the other radiation planets, all the other toxic planets look like, because they have variances, but they're all basically the same. They're all like 80 to 90% the same with a 10% difference. Whereas with the Bethesda game, with what Todd Howard said, they went through and they handcrafted a ton of stuff. So you're going to see kind of this, trees are going to look similar, but there's going to be different like bases and cities and stuff. It's going to be great. It sounds amazing. But then he also went out and he said that, we want to make it similar to the length of our other previous games. Because if you ever played a Fallout game or a Skyrim, an Elder Scrolls game, you know that there's a core mission or core campaign that you go through, a core storyline. You're like, okay, if I follow this thing, I know it's going to be this long. But how long is Starfield going to be?
Can we expect the main story to be roughly the same length, kind of hours-wise, as we've seen from your previous games?
This one's ending up a little bit longer, and we may tune that some still. It's more quests, so it might be 20% more than our previous ones. So if you say, and your mileage may vary, people generally don't straight line it. But if our previous ones, if we aimed for, let's say, a 25-hour main quest, this one might be in the 30s, maybe 40 just for the main quest. Obviously, all of the other quests and faction lines and everything else we have here, there's quite a bit there, and we've sort of learned that people do play our games for a really, really long time. They're still playing Skyrim, not straight for 10 years, but they leave it and they come back, and there's extra content. And certainly we're going to be doing extra content for this game, and we love our modding community. We actually think this game for our modding community is going to be a dream, because there's so much they could do. So we think that's a great thing that we love as well.
So yeah, it is actually going to be 30, 40-ish hours. And that's just for the main storyline. You have all the extra cool stuff that they always throw in. I love that. That is so freaking awesome. And then the thing that kind of, I mean, it's understandable, but it's kind of a disappointment, is he talked about, what happens when you jump in your ship? Can you just take off and go into space? What happens when that happens?
We just think what we'd want to do in a game, and how can we make that work the best it can be. And there are some things that we don't do. One for Starfield people have asked is, well, can you fly the ship straight down to the planet? No. We decided early in the project that the on surface is one reality, and then when you're in space is another reality. So let's make sure it's awesome when you're on the surface and awesome when you're in space, and those realities look as good as they can be and play as good as they can be for those realities.
And then there's the big kicker, the thing that, we all knew it was happening, but now we know. Todd Howard specifically called out the fact that they are working on Elder Scrolls 6 and they're working on Fallout 5.
Elder Scrolls 6 is in pre-production, and we're going to be doing Fallout 5 after that. So our slate's pretty full going forward for a while. We have some other projects that we look at from time to time as well, but they do take a while. I wish they came out faster. I really do. We're trying as hard as we can, but we want them to just be as best as they could be for everybody.
So yeah, that is a ton of information. Are you super excited? Are you really, really excited about Starfield like I am? I am super pumped up. There are some things I wish they could do, like taking off from a planet and going out in the atmosphere, but I understand they're going to put a cutscene, they're going to put a cinematic in there, because they're like, look, it's not worth it. We have other things we want to focus on, and people don't really care about taking off the planet. I'm sure some people do, but the majority of people just say, hey, get me out into space or get me on the planet. So when you're in space, you know, you're going to go back or whatever. So that's kind of understandable. Fallout 5, I mean, we all kind of assumed it's coming, but now we kind of know the roadmap a little bit, meaning we're going to get Elder Scrolls 6 probably 2024, 2025, because they're going to put out Starfield. It's Elder Scrolls 6 is in pre-production, meaning they're not even fully producing it yet. They're focused on Starfield. Then Elder Scrolls 6 comes out a year, 2 years, maybe 3 years after Starfield. And then you're going to have to say, okay, another 2 or 3 years after Elder Scrolls 6, we get Fallout. So we're talking 2028 is going to be Fallout 5. So at least now we know that that's the plan. And who knows? Plans change. That could change later on. Who knows? Maybe they throw it to another team. Or, you know, Microsoft says, we love you guys, but, you know, Fallout, we're going to take that out of your wheelhouse. We want you to focus on Starfield. We want a sequel to Starfield. Who knows what happens that many years from now? Who knows? But at least now we have a general idea of what they're planning on doing, and that could change in the future. I'm excited. I'm super pumped up. Hopefully you guys are too, and I will see you guys in the next video.